Welcome back to CTV News. He described it as the most dangerous project for the city so far. A new Christchurch Convention Centre. Yes, it's very contentious. It'll cost nearly $300 million. That cost is expected to soar. But nobody knows it will bring the benefits to the city. Yes, we do know that actually, because the information, the international research does suggest convention centres are loss-making ventures. So why would you bother? Rebuild commentator Barnaby Bennett is with us, and good evening to you, Barnett, I beg your pardon. Tell us about this convention centre. You've written a rather interesting report on this, and I want to bring you up in the first paragraph. I've talked to former mayors, people inside Sarah, inside council, community leaders, local business owners, inner city residents, many more, and almost nobody supports either the location or the scale of this project. Then why the hell are we building it then?
It's a good question, and I think the fact that no one supports it doesn't mean it's the wrong project. I think the really bad thing is the poor communication about the project. I've criticised it quite a lot in that document, and I've tried to be as sort of thorough and open and imaginative with it as possible, but really it should be on the Crown's part to make the case to say this is a really good project for the city, and this is what's inside the project, and this is why it's going to make good money, and this is why it's a good investment.
But they haven't. Every time we've asked for the actual business case to say why this monstrosity is going to be great for the city, all we get is a heavily redacted report, which in my view is poor considering the amount of money, public money, that's going to be spent on this. Exactly. Of course, Jerry Brownlee would argue of commercial imperatives are at play here, commercial sensitivity. They don't want to say too much and give too much away. If you reveal your hand, so to speak, then it may become either too cheap or too expensive, vice versa, depending on who wants to build this thing.
It's become like the TPPA negotiations, where they're having to keep everything secret, which actually puts the public offside, which puts the investors offside, which makes us all really worried about the project. Except, unlike the TPPA, they've committed to it already, so they've put themselves in this terrible negotiating position.
Do you think it's a done deal, though? Because we're still in the negotiation stage, aren't we? I mean, the council is pretending it's a done deal. The government, too, is when it comes to the anchor projects. But at the very end clause of the blueprint, it says they can renegotiate whatever they like. This entire project's open to interpretation. It is flexible, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think anything's a done deal, and that's why I wrote this, is to try and get a bit of conversation. And I think what would be best is if they came out and started telling us some of the financial figures, even if they're ballpark. And if they also came out and started, there was a bit of a defence today I see about our criticism of them being big empty open spaces and that there will be different facilities. What are the facilities? Tell us what the shop, what sort of shops, what's the grain going to be, how many things are going to be there, what community facilities is going to be. You
have major concerns that this is going to take up far too much space in central Christchurch, and it's the wrong location. Why?
Conventionally, convention centres aren't good inside central cities. They usually go on the outskirts of central cities because they're big objects that are largely empty most of the time, and they don't give the sort of density of activity that central cities need, where you want lots of shops, lots of little events, lots of things like bars, cafes, hairdressers, people living there.
Well, looking at some shots now, though, my understanding is the government would argue that this is more of a precinct now. They realise that they can't create this thing without the public having use of it. Do you buy that? Do you think that will be the case? At the moment, I can't see bars, restaurants or public amenities.
Yeah, and you look at it, it's big empty space which is designed for big crowds of people to come through a couple of times a day or something. It doesn't have the grain that the Christchurch used to have, that people are used to, and it doesn't have what a really functioning city needs. And they keep saying precinct, which sure is fine, but tell us what's going to be in the precinct then. Well,
and the thing is, they won't, though.
No.
Do you know what it reminds me of? I look at these images that we're seeing on the screen right now. It reminds me of Brasilia. You know what I mean? It's concrete. Yeah. It's not functional. Yeah. It's a concrete jungle. It's bloody boring. Where's the vision in that? Even if it was the right location, from an architect's point of view, you think it's boring? Somebody retweeted somebody saying it looks like a squashed sandwich. It does, doesn't it?
I guess from an architect's point of view, yeah. I'm more concerned about it giving life to the city than what it looks like. I think an ugly building, if it's full of life and activity, people will grow to love it. And I think this building could be the prettiest building in the world, and it wouldn't, if it's not doing that, it won't do that to the city.
So how will it give life to the city? How can we make sure this thing gives life to the city then?
I think one of the main things they could do is come out and say, these are the areas that we're going to have public activities. What do you want there? I think it's amazing that they'll be doing a $500 million project and haven't come back to the city not once in 3 years and said, what are the sort of things you guys envisioned in your city? What are the sort of shops you want? What are the sort of events you want to be able to hold? Apparently the project designers, and this have talked to the council once, about this project. So even our own council representatives and planners don't really know what's going on with this.
I was going to ask you, but I was going to pick you up on that because you've written here that, one sort of engagement meeting, if that. So really, they're doing what they want regardless of the people. Do you believe for a second this so-called share an idea, this convention centre is based on that share an idea thing? I can't imagine any Christchurch people saying, I want a massive squash sandwich right in the middle of the city. Apart from the taxi drivers and the occasional person that phones me up on talkback saying it's going to be great for the economic stimulus, despite the fact no research to back it up.
But we can have both. We can have economic stimulus and a well-designed building in the right place. We can have all that. We just need to be really careful and slow and considered. It's always been played off as a trade-off at the moment. Like you lose democracy if you get good business. It's a false choice.
Well, it is. And I want to pick you up on the international research, and I've read many articles that suggest at the end of the day, convention centres across the world are loss-making ventures. So why on earth are we going down this road then? Because we've got Skype. People aren't wanting to travel to. Why would somebody want to come to Christchurch? You've got the one in Auckland that's supposedly being built. You've got one in Queenstown. We're all competing for this very small market that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So why are the politicians so obsessed with what I would call vanity projects?
I don't know, and I wouldn't object to the project if they put up a solid case and said, we're confident it's going to work, it's going to bring in X number of hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And stadiums run at a loss as well. Lots of things run at a loss. In itself, that's not wrong. What's wrong is they won't tell us what that loss is until construction starts this year, and we don't know who's going to be paying for that loss. They might turn around in 2 years and go to the council and go, oh, you need to pay $50 million
Well, that's right. Leanne Dalzell nor Jerry Brownlee will tell me who will pay for the ongoing operational expenses for this thing.
That's outrageous, really.
It is outrageous. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming into us here at CTV News.